Today, we're looking at bossa nova, but not just as another musical genre. We're talking about a quiet revolution in sound. This was a moment when the fundamental harmonic language of popular music really expanded, introducing a whole new level of complexity into the mainstream and changing what the public ear was prepared to accept.
This comparison really says it all. On one side, you have the simple C major triad, which was pretty much the bedrock of popular music of that time. On the other, you have its bossa nova counterpart, a C major 9th, sharp 11th. That simple three-note structure is suddenly filled with new tensions, new colors. This harmonic leap is exactly what we're going to explore.
To really appreciate just how significant this shift was, we first have to understand the musical world that bossa nova was born into. It was an era of what you might call an unchanged harmony. For decades leading up to the early 1960s, Western popular music operated inside a very predictable harmonic box. The three-chord structure was king. It created a familiar, almost repetitive language that audiences were completely used to.
So while the airwaves were full of that predictable sound, something entirely different was starting to take shape somewhere else. A quiet revolution was being tuned, literally, in the apartments of Rio de Janeiro, built around the intimate sound of a nylon string guitar.
This emerging sound had a totally new structure. It was a fusion, really, of Brazilian rhythmic sensibilities with the sophisticated harmonic ideas coming out of American West Coast jazz.
Bossa nova moved way beyond the simple triad. It systematically brought extended chords into its vocabulary. Major sevenths, for example, added this breathy, unresolved feeling. Ninths gave it a lush richness. And augmented elevenths, or flattened fifths, introduced a kind of poignant dissonance that was almost unheard of in mainstream pop music.
So, how were these complex harmonies made to feel so accessible? Well, the answer is in the rhythm, specifically in a technique called the stuttering guitar. Instead of a heavy, driving beat, it created this gentle, syncopated pulse. It's this rhythmic cushion that made all the intellectual complexity of the music feel physically effortless and relaxed.
And this wasn't an accident. This line from the famous song Desafinado is almost like a manifesto. The composers knew that their note choices might sound slightly out of tune to someone who wasn't used to them. The song itself is a defense of this new musicality. It's arguing for a more sophisticated idea of what a melody can be.
This new sound, which started in Brazil, very soon found its way to a global audience. But its arrival on the world stage wasn't some loud invasion. It was more like an infiltration, a kind of Trojan horse tune.
You can see its global ascent here on this timeline. The 1962 Carnegie Hall concert was its introduction to America's cultural tastemakers. Then, 2 years later, the Getz Gilberto album, which featured the American saxophonist Stan Getz, created a crucial bridge for the public. By 1965, a Grammy win confirmed that it was a worldwide phenomenon.
The Girl from Ipanema became the ultimate vehicle for this whole musical revolution. Millions of people all over the world were humming its melody, totally unaware that they were internalizing complex modulations and flattened fifths. It was a sophisticated lesson in harmony, just presented as an easy, memorable song.
This led to a kind of aesthetic that we could call sophistication light. Think about it. Unlike the aggressive, technically demanding style of bebop jazz, bossa nova was inviting. It offered this feeling of cultural elevation, of intellectual depth, but it did so with a whisper. That made it uniquely suited for mass adoption.
Now, eventually, the intense popularity of bossa nova as a chart-topping trend began to fade, but its influence resulted in a permanent retuning of the Western musical ear.
The essential point is this. The bossa nova craze wasn't some fleeting fad. It fundamentally altered the harmonic expectations of the listening public. The sounds that once might have been considered dissonant or out of tune were now just part of the accepted palette.
And its legacy is very concrete. The harmonically rich work of the singer-songwriters in the 1970s is a direct descendant. The use of major 7th and 9th chords became a normal part of pop and rock. But most importantly, it proved that a mass audience wasn't just ready for, but was actually receptive to, greater harmonic complexity.
So to sum it all up, the true contribution of bossa nova wasn't just a rhythm. Its great gift was an expansion of the audible spectrum for popular music. It gave the world an entirely new set of colors to hear.
This history brings us to a final question to reflect on. As we listen to the music being made right now, we can ask ourselves, what are the quiet revolutions of our own time? What new colors are we learning to hear today?